you a broadcaster, content creator, content distributor, or a media practitioner seeking opportunities to amplify your creativity and expand your network? Then join us at the 13th edition of Africast. Africast 2023 offers participants the opportunity to experience 3 days of world-class exposition through plenaries, streamings, master classes, and workshops showcasing the very best in creativity and technological advancements in the global broadcast and media ecosystem. Theme: broadcast content, synergy, finance, and market. Date: Tuesday the 24th of October to Thursday the 26th of October 2023. Venue: Marriott Hotel, Ikeja, Lagos, Nigeria. For more inquiries, visit www.africast.com.ng. NBC, your right to quality broadcasting.
Attention broadcasters, independent producers, and content streamers. This is your chance to buy or sell quality content. At Africast 2023, the National Broadcasting Commission, NBC, will be launching the very first ever Nigerian TV and film content hub. Join us from the 24th to the 26th of October at the Marriott Hotel Ikeja, Lagos, and be part of a game-changing experience. Content Hub is your destination for content acquisitions, aggregation, licensing, and distribution of both local and international programs across for broadcasters in Nigeria. For more inquiries, visit www.africast.com.ng. Content Hub, your easy and affordable access to quality and affordable content. Don't miss out. The Africast Content Hub, brought to you by the National Broadcasting Commission, NBC, in collaboration with NIFS.
Thank you for joining us on ATN Blowout today. ATN Blowout is simply a syndicated live program of the network where we hold conversation on several issues and we'll bring you special interest topics through news, events, and stories from our correspondent reports, expert opinions, and stakeholders analysis. On the show today, our first point of call is on Anchor's chat. Late DPO was tricked by cultists. This is coming from Police Commissioner in Rivers State. And we'll go to Cross River State. IPAC gives O2 3 months to conduct LG polls. In Biafra, Chief of Army Staff declares end to stay-at-home order in Southeast. In governance, Nigerians will benefit from Tinubu's economic policies soon. This is coming from APC Chief Ten Wankwa. In Plateau State, NMA, distance self from Dr. Kekere over organ harvest allegations. And still in FCT, gunshots as National Union of Road Transport factions clash in Abuja. An FCT weekend to probe 800 million judgment against administration. The Election Tribunal, Abure decries sack of Labour Party elected members by courts. Our guest on the show today is Alabo Eugene Ode. He is a legal practitioner, but he's speaking to us this morning as a socio-political analyst. We'll take a short break and come back to you on Anchor's chat. Stay with us.
beyond the line, across the ocean, to the land beyond the mountains, through the Sahara, we bring.
Every day, our lives are changed by history.
We are one people, all of us.
Leaders, politics.
Nobody's ambition is what's the blood.
I have fought a very family. Natural occurrence, war, and the world economy.
I belong to everybody, and I belong to nobody.
ATN covers it all on ATN Politics today.
All right, welcome back to ATM Blowout. Now let's have Anchor's chat. So you remember DPO Bako Angbashim that was murdered over the weekend. Now, yesterday, in the course of the investigation and issues around his passing, his mother, the Rivers State Police Commissioner Emeka Nwoyi said the late divisional police officer of Ahoda, Bako Angbashim, played into the hands of his killers. Nwoyi revealed that the cultists had sold the dummy to the late superintendent of police, that they were ready to turn in their arms if they would be granted amnesty in return. He disclosed this during a solidarity protest by a human rights advocate, Charles Jaja, at the headquarters of the state police Command in Port Harcourt on Monday. Woyi expressed regret that the late Anbashim trusted the miscreants only for Anbashim to realize their deceit in death. The CP, however, said that by the action of the cultists, they have touched the lion's tail. He said, what pains me most was the idea of him and Bashir believing, like he kept saying, that these people said they were ready to surrender their guns and come out from amnesty. And he played to the gallery only to know in death that these people were rather crafty in their oppression and lured him for an onslaught. While continuing on his position, the CP said, we gave you cultists the opportunity to embrace peace, no personal interest attached, and the interest we collectively have to make sure that Rivers State is peaceful. If you will not take it, was the option of killing this man the best? He has a family, he has children, he has a wife. No, you have touched the lion's tail. Those men must be cut to face the wrath of the law. We will be unrepentant until we put crime and criminality to its barest minimum in Rivers State. Commissioner Woyi said that paying the supreme price was not the best reward for policemen who left their families to protect lives and property. Woyi stated that as police officers, if we let our family, our environment, our homes for a state or national duty like this is not the best trophy to take home. It is a clarion call for Nigeria, for Rivers State. It's a wake-up call against the barbaric acts in this 21st century. A man that is not a criminal, that his only call was to come to sanitize society, that you should stop killing your fellow human beings, kidnapping your fellow human beings, destroying people's property. That was the only crime. Well, while thanking the rights advocate for the visit, he added that it is a very painful time for us in the command for losing one of our best hands. Well, he thanked the governor for the 100 million bounty placed on prime suspect Gift Okpara Obolowo and his members for anyone that could provide information. He's saying that basically patriotic citizens should take advantage of that, be a whistleblower and make the money, and also help to make sure we arrest these bad guys for your own interests and humanity. The CP, Emeka Woyi, this angle of conversation of subtly blaming a police officer who was doing nothing but his job is something that came across as a bit off. If you knew that DPO Anbasim was in conversation with these criminals, and they have told him that they want to surrender their arms, what did you do as a police commissioner to ensure that he's well equipped for what he should be doing? What did you do? That's number one. Number two, you also know that, and this is 2023, if crime fighting is going to be a thing that officers are going to do, you know the level of equipment that they have in terms of devices they need to fight this criminal element. Because from what the Commissioner of Police is saying is that he's aware that the so-called cultists are in touch with Anbashim, and they have said that they are going to surrender. Now, if this is the case, and he believed them because he's been working there for some time, what backup plan did you have if you did not trust the cultists the way Anbashim trusted them? I honestly think that public office holders need to get some check and really honestly ask themselves, the way they handle some issues, is it really the best way to handle it? Telling us that the man was deceived, an experienced officer like Bako Anbashim, that as a matter of fact, Ogonis produced a song in honor of this man. I literally thought he was an Ogoni man. That's to tell you how much this man has been able to do in Rivers State. I didn't even know he was from Benue State. Ogonis have made a song in honor of this man to tell you how much they appreciate what he did for them. So he's a fantastic police officer. You said he's one of your best hands. So saying that, telling us that it was an attack, we leave it as an attack. This conversation of saying that he believed them, they deceived him, it's not for the public to consume at this point that we are trying to mourn this man. I honestly feel that some conversation should be kept within the force. We know that, let it be a rumor. How do you even deceive a police officer? And let's even have that conversation. How do you deceive him to say, okay, we want to surrender arms? He didn't go alone. Let's even begin to talk about the fact that the men he went with were not properly armed. And then when these guys with more sophisticated firearms, you know, began to fire back at them, do you get what I'm trying to say? Began to fire back at them, automatically, what this turned out to be is that at that point, you discovered that they had to retreat. That's according to the report you gave us, sir. So DPU Ambashim was left to his fate. So telling us how they deceived him, I don't think that is something. If you're telling me that this is a trained police officer, it means that anybody could have been deceived. Telling that story of how he believed them, as if you're trying to say he should have known better not to believe criminals. If he does not believe them, how is he going to bring peace? Believing in shooting at everybody in Ahoda is in trying to bring peace. What exactly was that going to do? He did what was best for him to do, given the circumstance. I think, sir, you should be crying that your men don't have the right tools to fight crime. I honestly think that that should be your biggest concern right now. Because if he didn't go alone, if the men who were with him were trained for this such ragtag army, I mean, that's what they are. Though you call them, the governor called them terrorists. If your men were trained and well equipped, what it means is even before they got to that point, they're supposed to send forth some of gadgets. They're supposed to have enough money to even bribe someone within their gang, you know, get someone. There are processes they could have gone through. So I think the police need to start taking responsibility and start telling us, like I said on Monday, this is heartbreaking for every one of us. Like you said, it's your best hand. We shouldn't be losing such men. But now that we have lost him, like I said, if you look at his dress, his uniform, you know that this man is not even being well cared for as a DPO. So now that all of this has happened, we want to know, like I said, my little 1,000 can make a difference. What can we do to honor this man in death? Since some of us didn't know him in life, we couldn't do much for him. But tell us your plans. We shouldn't lose such officers and the third day you're still pushing blame. He should have known. And no. Tell us what we can do so that when the officers say that, even public, that we are encouraging such officers who fought and died for us. Guess what? More would want to put their life on the line. They signed up for this. So even if they let them be assured that, oh, my family will be taken care of. Nigerians are nice, good enough to know that I died in the process of this, and they can come back to shield, make sure that my family, I'm not just looking for the police force. We know several officers who died that we didn't even know. Some of them would know. There's nothing for their family to live on. So can we begin to talk? We don't mind. We accept the state of our government. The little we earn, we can actually open a GoFundMe. Tell us what you want to do to help this family. We don't want Ambashin's family, his story to end up like the rest. Whether you catch the criminal or not, that's not really our own, that's your responsibility. But what is important to us now, CP Warrior, is please, what is your plan to, and who are the families? How old are his kids? You know, his wife, what can we do? Give us detail. That is what it is. This man has sacrificed his life for us, sir. We want to see that we care for, we do whatever we can to respect the time of the life and time of man. I honestly do not think that anything is more important than telling us this, that won't lead to the, you know, that's why maybe we are the colors developing nation at the end of the day, because some of this information, the FBI, the police force, the other countries, they will put it, is not, because coming out to say your officer was deceived and ambushed and all of that, what does it do for you? It weakens the force, how people view the force the more. So you have told him us is a hero. Ogoni is right now are celebrating this man for what he did for them. Can you give us a break and let us actually celebrate this man that we didn't meet while he was alive? But let's even see what we can do for him in death. And that's been unquestioned. But of course, my guess is Erifas Alamo, and he has something to say on this. We'll have all of that conversation after the break. Stay with us. Welcome back to ATM Blowout, and of course, we have a very own Alamo Eugene Ode live in the studio. And then before we get on with all of the issues, Alamo, good to have you on ATM Blowout.
Thank you very much.
I know you were not finding the anchor's chat funny, but
okay.
Let me quickly bring you in here. This line up, he was pursuing amnesty, SP and Bako Bashim, according to the CP statement. It was a bit off. And like I said, at the point when we are saying, hey, let's know this man shouldn't be one of those police officers that will just come in and go that way. Let's know what we can do to be there for them. And then instead of that, we're hearing you like subtly passing blame game. What do you think he was going about with that statement yesterday?
Honestly, I share your sentiments, and I actually agree with your view on this issue. I think it. I want to believe that the CP, the current CP Rivers State, has overstayed his welcome in Rivers State, because the way he has handled this matter, he has shown lack of competence. He has shown that he is not deep emotionally and psychologically to manage a very sensitive state as Rivers State. And I hope he's hearing me. And I believe the IG is monitoring what is happening in Rivers State. Rivers State is not where you send just anybody to come and man. Rivers State, we know where we are coming. We know the history, security history, and the antecedents in Rivers State. So for anybody to occupy an office of the Commissioner of Police of Rivers State, has been somebody who is intellectually deep, emotionally balanced, and psychologically in control of himself. What the CP has just done is to pour fuel on a burning flame. You know, I don't think it was right for him to speak in the manner he spoke about somebody who the state has recognized over time. Maybe the CP did not know how Rivers State was before Bako came in Ogoni, especially the Ogoni axis of Rivers State. And other places where this man has performed, like Eche. People also don't know that Bako had also helped in restoring peace in Eche. And all the places he has been to, he has gone there and made a mark. He's a hero of some sort. So for such a person to die such a cheap death, and then his boss will come in the media and want to play to the gallery, is very provocative, especially to those who have taken benefits of this man's professional services over time.
Now, here's another concern I also have on this. Number one, he talked about amnesty. And I'm wondering, why would a DPO be discussing amnesty with these people? Another concern we have, is it possible for us to ask the CP to begin to explain how, for instance, his men were not properly armed and they were in a retreat and abandoned their officers, the DPO there?
That is what I'm saying, that the ball stopped on the table of the CP. He has a lot of explanation to give the public beyond what he has said. What he's just talking now is mere rhetoric. He's just playing to the gallery. If indeed he's a professional police officer who has served this country meritoriously and has climbed by merit to that position, he should know that what he has said would not even convince a child. Okay? You cannot bring amnesty in this conversation, especially the way the man was brutally murdered. You can't bring amnesty into it. The reason is because there's a standard procedure for granting amnesty to these people, this group of people, Nigerians. There's a standard procedure. If you look at Section 175 of the Constitution and Section 212 of the Constitution, it tells you that pardon can only be granted by the President after due consultation with Council of State. And in the States, there's a replica of that procedure, which is like the Security Advisory Council. Okay, Wike used to have weekly security meetings like that with security chiefs. So when amnesty is discussed, it is not discussed like a pedestrian discussion on the roadside. It is a very deliberate, calculated plan which the governor himself will initiate from his office. So if there is any particular hot spot in the state where there's need for security intervention, the governor will call for that security council meeting, and those issues will be discussed. And then they will advise the governor, look, let's give them, of course, this concept of amnesty is like this, the concept in psychology called the carrot and stick approach. let's wave the olive branch to these people who will be willing to come out and surrender their arms. Okay? If they are willing to come out on their own to surrender their arms, we will take them, we'll debrief them, reintroduce them back into the society. But when they are unwilling, then we apply the stick, which is the force. At the end of the day, and for such a volatile place like where Bako was killed, he couldn't have just gone there only by himself.
So the CP was also, from this statement, he's aware that there's such a conversation going on between Bako and the said cultist.
Well, like I said, there is a lot of gap in this information the CP has given.
That's said yesterday.
If they had reached, if the CP was aware that a cultist or a militant is actually making an attempt to surrender his arms, what he should have done was to report to the commander, to the chief security officer of the state, being the governor of the state. And then there's an arrangement that is always on ground. When a militant or anybody or any group of individuals have decided to repent and want to give, we saw the way Donwani, at some point, he came and surrendered. We also saw other people who have also come out to surrender. It wasn't done in the forest. And it wasn't done to a DPO. You know, DPO is at a very lower level there in the hierarchy of command. You have the CP, you have the area commanders, you have the tactical unit commanders, and then we're talking about just a DPO, and you allow him in the hands of dangerous criminals like this, and you tell me that he was going for amnesty? No. Mr. CP, please, this explanation does not cut it for us here in Rivers State. Maybe you don't know Rivers State very, very well. You should ask questions. It doesn't cut it for us. Because we know how amnesty is done in this state. The traditional rulers of that community will be involved. Okay? Politicians will be involved. In fact, all the military, the entire security apparatchik of the state are usually co-opted for that exercise. You will see the army will be present, the navy will be present, the air force will be present, and all the security architecture in the state will be activated for that purpose of surrender. Okay? So it will be done in the public. Everybody will know that this person has actually surrendered, and then he will now begin to take benefits of that decision of surrendering to the state. That is why it is always done transparently. You don't just send a man to the battlefront, and then we are told that he went there with about 10 foot soldiers.
Who were not properly armed because they were overpowered.
You cannot say they were not properly armed.
Because the others will know. If the first reports they sent was that they were overpowered by
you cannot send a tactical team to such a place and you don't arm them. It is impossible. So I'm telling you, there are some things that are impossible. And that's what I'm saying.
We hope that they
if you remember, there's a conspiracy theory actually being bandied around out there. And I'm beginning to look towards that direction.
Okay.
There are some people who are insinuating that probably there's an insider, there's sabotage within the system.
Okay.
Probably the system wanted to just, within the police. And that's why yesterday I was calling the CP to look inwardly first before you begin to bring out these kind of things. Because, I mean, somebody goes to field with his boys, and then he's captured, and his boys came out clean.
And he was the only... And
it's inexplicable. None of his boys was shot at. There was no injury. Yeah. There was nothing.
They couldn't
even retrieve his corpse.
Yes. Yeah, because they finished. I saw a video. What that shocked me was that a video, one of my colleagues who's an Ogoni sent me a video, and in that video, the guys finished and were dancing around his
I'm telling you the truth. Look, see, you don't do this. The reason why we cannot allow Bako.
There was no one to call.
It is impossible. In fact, the CP, if I were the CP at this point in time, I should have been thinking of resigning. At this point in time, because this is very messy.
This is
now we have other police officers in Rivers State who, looking at what is happening now, will be dampened. It's sad because we have professional policemen who have come out and decided that they are going to serve their father's land, and they are willing to give their all. And then the way the CP is handling this one now, how do you think that these other ones will be motivated to give their all? So this is not an issue that you just come and then begin to dance around and you think you can bamboozle people because you can talk. It's very annoying. And I think, like I said, we should begin to call for the removal of this CP in Rivers State. I think he has done enough. We need a replacement, someone who is proactive and somebody who understands the way these things work. It's very annoying.
We honestly hope that, like I said, up till now, one of the issues I raised was, can we know something about his family? You need to set up the Police Service Commission, Dr. Arase was saying the other day, talking about how we can, all of those conversations are okay, but can we know how we can come through so we can motivate other police officers? Up till now, we don't have that conversation. We hope that they can begin to look into that as soon as possible.
Well, Vivian, there's a hashtag that is trending now. Okay. Justice for SP Bako.
Okay.
And the human rights community, the human rights community is coming together to rally. In the coming days, you're going to see more of
please, we
our
would want
actions
to be part
and activity.
Of ATM would want to be part of that, please.
Bako, as far as Rivers State is concerned, and we know what we have faced in this state,
yes.
We know where we are coming from. Bako's death will not go without proper. We must do the proper thing. The reason why we must do the proper thing is because we have other police officers who are out there who we know their lives are also, on the line. While we sleep in our houses, these men are out there risking themselves.
Genuine, yeah.
And with what we are seeing now, I'm sure it's going to demotivate those of them who are really willing and ready to take their job seriously. So it will be injustice if Bako is allowed to die and one CP will just come out and tell us he was tricked. And then, so it means everybody can be tricked. If Bako, with his years of experience, who has handled matters like this in more difficult terrain, can be deceived, then any other person can be deceived. So we should just go and sleep in our houses. Even the CP himself can be deceived, meaning that we are not safe in the hands of such a CP.
Kudos to the Rivers State governor that is taking some, genuine step. At least we hope that somehow something comes out of all of that. They said they've picked up 6 people. We don't know who those 6 people are and how they are related to this issue or not. But, like I said, we want justice for SP Bako and Bashir. But now let's get to Cross River State. Interparty Advisory Council in Cross River State has given Governor Basi Otu a 3-month ultimatum to conduct the suspended local government elections in the state. In May 2022, the state government commenced the process of conducting local council polls. That the exercise was postponed because of the general elections held in February and March 2023. The last date announced for the local government elections in the state was October 24, 2023. But in a statement signed by the state chairman and secretary, Comrade Anthony Atta and Pastor Ntami Esege, respectively, IPAC expressed concerns that the governor refused to talk about the scheduled local government council elections in his recent public address to mark his 100 days in office. So the Cross River State IPAC noted that the governor, being a former federal legislator at both the upper and lower chambers, he ought to lead by example. The organization declared that the people of the state can no longer tolerate imposition of illegal heads of local government administration. According to the Cross River State IPAC chapter, some other states in the country have already conducted local council elections while others are getting set to conduct theirs. I'd like to ask you a quick question, legally speaking, Alabo. Should people who are not duly elected by the local councils be running the affairs of the local council in terms of finances and running, documentation and what have you? Because I learned that is illegal.
Yeah, the answer the answer is in your question.
Okay.
The answer is a big no, because the Constitution, the way our Constitution created the different tiers of government. We have the federal, government, we have the state government, and we also have the local administration. All these tiers of government were deliberately created by the Constitution to allow for devolution of power from the center to the peripheral units, last unit being the local government council. And there are processes by which leaders emerge constitutionally in these different tiers of government. Of course, presidential election and the National Assembly election. You also have the state governor election and the state houses of assembly elections. So also, that pattern flows to the local government. The only difference being that whilst the federal elections and the state elections are carried out by INEC and carried out by the federal government under the supervision of INEC, that of the state has been left in the hands of, that of the local government has been left in the hands of the governor of the state or the state house of assembly. That's why in Rivers State we have RISEC. RISEC is a creation of Rivers State House of Assembly and under the management and control of the chief executive of the state being the governor. Now, we have seen over time that the governors have observed the principle of separation of power and the principle of respect for the Constitution in breach when it has to do with local government administration. In fact, the governors treat local government chairmen, even those who are elected, as though they are members of the State Executive Council. They look at them as commissioners. You know, the problem is actually a technical one, founded upon in provisions of the Constitution that gives the governor power to control, as it were, the activities of local government council in terms of finances. Okay, you know that there is this joint account between the governor and the local government council, where the governor decides how to disburse funds to local government. So the local governments do not actually have that autonomy to control their resources, and which is the reasons why you see the governors always having the upper hand to control what happens at the local government. So it is their power now. The governors have been given the power to decide when to hold elections and when not to hold elections. They can even decide not to even hold elections. You know, there are some states where the governor sat for the whole 4 years and never had one election, local government election. We have some of those states. In fact, we even had some states like Imo State some time past where there were elected local government councils. As there was change of pattern, he came and sacked all of them. It happened here also in Rivers State at some point in time during the transition between Amechi and Wike. He sacked them, you understand? And you want to ask yourself the question, does the governor have such power to sack an elected local government council? The answer is no. But because the governors have been given too much powers.
By who?
They have arrogated so much powers to themselves.
Okay, so now that IPAC is standing up to the Cross River State governor, and interesting enough, we from the story's narration said that he was one time a senator and elected House of Rep member. He has served in both upper and lower chambers. Now, having that person sit as a governor and not bothered about carrying out illegality, one begins to wonder. Of course, he's not the only one. There are several of them still ongoing, as a matter of fact. Is it safe to say that Nigeria needs to begin to look at its laws and...
exactly, absolutely. Like we have said, the Constitution needs to be amended.
Okay.
We have some judicial pronouncements on these issues. You know, you remember the past president of the country, Muhammadu Buhari, there was an executive bill he signed, which I was expecting that was going to lead to amendment of some provisions of the Constitution, where he granted autonomy to local government councils in that executive order, and autonomy to judicial workers and all that. But of course, an executive order is not more than what it is. It's not a law. You cannot enforce it. It has its own limitation until it becomes part and parcel of our body of laws. Okay. You cannot execute it stricto sensu. So if we can go to the provision of the Constitution that fuses the powers of the local government council with that of the office of the governor, and extricate it, separate it, and allow the local governments to function as separate, distinct entity as the governors of as the government of the state is operating, then only then can you really guarantee that, of course, these things will happen. It will be automated in the system. But as long as we continue to allow, you know, it doesn't matter if the man has been a member of the legislature or not. Once you become a governor, the powers of the governor begin to intoxicate you. You know, they say power corrupts, absolutely, and absolute power corrupts, absolutely. Yeah. So the powers that they have, These are mistakes and errors of the Constitution which they are taking advantage of. And the only way to correct these errors is by amending the Constitution, extricate the local government councils from the state government. And these things will run seamlessly.
All right, thank you, Alamo. Now let's talk about Biafra and the issue around sit at home. The Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Taoreed Lagbaja, has said the sit-at-home order enforced by the indigenous people of Biafra across the southeast states has ended. Recall that IPOB in August 2021 commenced the sit-at-home order to demand the release of its leader, Nnamdi Kanu, from prison. The order impacted the economy in the region and also resulted in loss of lives and property of residents in southeast. The Chief of Army Staff, who spoke at the Chief of Army Staff Combined Second and Third Quarters Conference in Abuja on Tuesday, said the menace ended as a result of the heightened efforts of his men, and collaboration with relevant stakeholders. Lagbaja said, "We have equally heightened our efforts in containing criminalities perpetrated in the southeast region by indigenous people of Biafra and Eastern Security Network. Through Operation Udoka, our troops have, in collaboration with other relevant stakeholders, put an end to the infamous sit-at-home order that has almost crippled socio-economic activities in the region. Law-abiding citizens of the region now go about their businesses and everyday life. Similarly, their joint efforts with various government agencies have quelled attempts by criminals to disrupt economic activity in the southwest region." He also revealed that the activities of Boko Haram and other terrorist activities have been curtailed, adding that residents of the troubled states had commenced commercial activities in the state. I want to go back to what is a position in the southeast. Lagbaja just came into office a few months ago, if I'm not mistaken. The governors have been making, southeast governors, have been making so much effort, and some notable, like one of the Andy Oba now. Several notable individuals have been fighting against this whole thing. IPOB themselves came out through Nnamdi Kanu, who did a written letter to say he did not endorse this. IPOB, Trima Powerful, have consistently said that, yes, we did start this for ABCD, but now that criminal elements have taken over, we are not part of this. We condemn it and we continue to condemn it. Enugu State Governor Peter Mba came in and tackled this head-on, fought through all kinds of rigors, even in the states. Anambra State Governor Soludo, that's been like one of the biggest things he's been fighting since he came into power. So when you now listen, of course, he did not do that without the help of the army, but they were at the fore of this. So if you look at what that and now you see the army taking glory for the outcome of what has happened, if it was about their efforts, okay, he said his men and their stakeholders, taking glory for this basically, does it really portend well for the crisis that has been in the southeast and how it came to be right now, and the effort that the people themselves put in to see that this ends?
Vivian, if you were this man, you would do the same thing.
Okay, Abby?
You do the same thing. Everybody wants to, they want to put out their CV there. They want to show people that they are working. So
but the CV you're putting out, people know about the CV.
You will do the same thing. So, well, what is most important is that we are beginning to see the light at the end of the tunnel. That's what is most important. It doesn't matter what these people try to push down our truths or make us believe. We know that even before now, IPOB has started retracing their steps in respect of the sit-at-home directives that they were obeying and adhering to before now. So whether this commander, this Chief of Army Staff was in power or not, before he came, the sit-at-home issue had already started dying away. So, of course, to his own advantage, it's happening under his watch. So he will definitely take advantage of that and cash in and then make a name for himself. It was because of his arrival. That's why all these things started happening. But we know better. We know better.
That's good. But now, the issue about the statement he also made in that release, where he was talking about how the problems caused by IPOB and Eastern Security Network and what have you, The concern again is, I thought we have gone past the point of blaming IPOB or dragging IPOB through all of this. Is it possible, if you, in your opinion, for them to do their thing without dragging all of these elements and just make this statement without saying, oh, these are the people who caused this trouble and we're able to deal with them? Is all of that necessary?
They've not been able to deal with anybody so far. The only thing they've been able to do is to hold Nnamdi Kanu against the orders of courts. And you cannot say it's because they have held Nnamdi Kanu. That's the reason why IPOB activities has actually resolved. Like I said, by and large, we should just thank God that the matters are resolving themselves naturally for some strange reasons. That the restiveness in the south is, is gradually dying down. Whatever is the reason for it, if it's the governors who have helped in making this happen, we give them kudos. Whoever is responsible will give them kudos, because I'm telling you, the Southeast was almost ostracized from the country economic-wise. We have families there, we have friends there, we have people, I have colleagues, lawyers who are there. We saw how some of them were brutally killed. Some of them were butchered in the open streets. Remember the judge who was killed in broad daylight?
Several.
Yes, several judges
Dr. Akunyili.
Yes, Dr. Akunyili
and several
others who were brutally murdered like that in those places. And we saw that nothing came out of it. The military did not do anything about it. The system did. All we just heard was just the news, and that was it. We didn't see nobody.
Even their colleagues.
Nobody was arrested. And nobody took responsibility. The military couple who were also slain on their way to, I think, Asaba, also along from Owerri.
Yeah.
These things, we saw it happen. The military did not do anything about it. The police did not do anything about it. The system did not respond in the way we thought they should have responded. But we thank God that peace is gradually returning to that region. And whatever is responsible for it, if it is Lagbaja that has made it happen, we thank him so much for helping us in the Southeast to restore peace.
Absolutely.
That's what we want. That is what is most important.
Let's quickly talk about this. The National Welfare Secretary of the ruling All Progressive Congress, Donatus Wankpa, has assured that Nigerians would soon start benefiting from the economic policy of the President Bola Tinubu-led administration. Now, Wankpa, who gave the assurance in Umuahia, Ada State, when the state chapter of the party organized a reception in his honor, and he said Tinubu was trying to tackle the problems of Nigeria head-on. He stated it was in the process of correcting the ills of the past that the president removed the fuel subsidy. Adding that the hardship Nigerians were facing now as a result of that will soon give way to economic prosperity. The only snare in the economic policy of the president's administration is the removal of fuel subsidy that has temporarily brought hardship to the people. But I assure you, with time, Nigerians will start getting the benefits. He said if Tinubu could turn Lagos around when he was governor of the state, in the same token, he would fix the problems of Nigeria. I'll just leave that to you. I have no question.
Honestly, I'm short for words, but if you insist I make a comment, I will. Bola Ahmed Tinubu, Senator Ahmed, President.
Yes.
President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And of course, this is his duty and responsibility to formulate policies that will advance and stabilize the country. And one thing I know is that I'm happy that he's aware that there's an urgent need to stabilize the economy, especially after the removal of subsidy. And we have seen him take some steps by initiating the palliative scheme across the country, ensuring that monies are disbursed to cushion the effect of the subsidy removal. But it goes beyond that. It goes beyond treating the symptoms. There has to be a very robust, urgently for that matter. He doesn't have the time. Okay, there's need for him. I saw recently that he invited Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, the international president of WTO, into the country. I believe consultations are ongoing at that level to see how to get Nigeria out of the woods. I don't think as a president he will be happy to see that the economy collapses under his watch. He has only 4 years, barring anything from the Supreme Court. All right? If he remains like this, he has 4 years to prove his mettle. He has so much. A lot of people who voted for him actually did that because they saw to them what he did in Lagos State. Look, whether you like it or not, Lagos State is Africa's 4th biggest economy. In fact, Lagos State was at some point competing with Nigeria. Okay, so if he was able to structure an economic policy in, of course, you know, when he was in power, you remember what Obasanjo did to him? Obasanjo was not releasing the federal allocation to Lagos State. So it was a miracle that within that period when Bola Ahmed Tinubu was running Lagos State, there was no federal allocation, and yet he was able to stimulate the economy of Lagos State to the height where Lagos State is now like the 4th biggest economy in Africa. So those are credentials that he came on the table with, which people actually trust him to say if he has accomplished so much with Lagos State, I think a bigger platform like Nigeria, he should be able to do even much more with this opportunity he has to bring back Nigeria to... I was in Ghana a few weeks ago, and I had tears in my eyes. The economy of Ghana is far, far ahead of... I'm talking about Ghana, the West African country here. In fact, even Benin Republic and Cameroon, you know, we are now like a laughing stock. So we are in a desperate need for these policies to come to fruition if he has them. All right.
Thank you so much. We'll take a short break, everyone. When we come back, you know about Dr. Noah Okekere, NMA in Plateau State, have distanced themselves from him. But the question we're asking on that is, hey, you're distancing yourself from him, okay? You didn't know he was practicing there, and we learned he's not even a doctor or so. But let's have all of that conversation after the break.
Are you a broadcaster, content creator, content distributor, or a media practitioner seeking opportunities to amplify your creativity and expand your network? Then join us at the 13th edition of Africast. Africast 2023 offers participants the opportunity to experience 3 days of world-class exposition through plenaries, streamings, master classes, and workshops showcasing the very best in creativity and technological advancements in the global broadcast and media ecosystem. Theme: broadcast content, synergy, finance, and market. Date: Tuesday the 24th of October to Thursday the 26th of October 2023. Venue: Marriott Hotel, Ikeja, Lagos, Nigeria. For more inquiries, visit www.africast.com.ng. NBC, your right to quality broadcasting.
Attention broadcasters, independent producers, and content streamers. This is your chance to buy or sell quality content. At Africast 2023, the National Broadcasting Commission, NBC, will be launching the very first ever Nigerian TV and film content hub. Join us from the 24th to the 26th of October at the Marriott Hotel Ikeja, Lagos, and be part of a game-changing experience. Content Hub is your destination for content acquisitions, aggregation, licensing, and distribution of both local and international programs across for broadcasters in Nigeria. For more inquiries, visit www.africast.com.ng. Content Hub, your easy and affordable access to quality and affordable content. Don't miss out. The Africast Content Hub, brought to you by the National Broadcasting Commission, NBC, in collaboration with NIFS.
Completely.
There's no problem with it.
Good to have you back, everyone. We're still live here with Alabo, and then we want to go to Plateau State now. Alabo, let's look at the issue around that. So the Nigerian Medical Association in Plateau State has distanced itself from a doctor, Noah Okekere, who has been arrested for allegedly harvesting a woman's kidney in his hospital in Jos. Okekere was arrested a week ago after a businessman, Alhaji Kamal, accused him of removing his wife's kidney during surgery in 2018 and leaving the woman in pain for the last 5 years. The suspect is currently under psychiatric care at the Jos University Teaching Hospital as he exhibited symptoms of mental illness on Saturday. However, the chairman of Plateau State chapter of the NMA, Dr. Bapiga Audu, and the public relations officer, Dr. Istifanos Bako, said in a statement jointly signed and issued in Jos, that upon its investigation into the matter, it discovered that Kekere is not a medical doctor. The association also called on all members and citizens to remain calm, as this association is on top of the issue and is assisting the police to get to the root of the matter. I laughed when I read this yesterday. So, this is not the only woman, Mr. Kamal's wife, the lady who has been suffering for the last 5 years. She's not the only one we learned that there are several other cases that he harvests their organs and trades with it. Please, if you may, legally speaking, what is the function or role of the enemy? If for years this man has been functioning as a medical doctor, running a hospital, and the enemy could not find out that this man is not a medical doctor, until people's life has been jeopardized as bad as it has gone to before, they're not telling us that they're investigating.
Well, every professional body has regulatory framework that regulates activities of professionals. For instance, like as a lawyer, we have the Nigerian Bar Association.
Yeah.
Nigerian Bar Association was not created by statute. It's just an association registered as under Board of Trustees under Part C of the Corporate Affairs Commission. I believe that is how NMA also operates. It's not a creation of statute. But however, there are laws, rules, and regulations that are enacted by statutes. I know that there is a law regulating the activity of dental and medical practitioners. It's an act of the National Assembly enacted for that purpose. And for you to become a medical practitioner, you must fulfill those requirements prescribed under the Dental and Medical Workers Act. So, and I believe that there are procedures and guidelines and rules and regulations. We have our own rules of professional ethics that regulates our activities as lawyers. I believe that the medical profession also has their own ethics, rules, and guidelines. And I believe also that there are machineries put on ground to checkmate and regulate the activities of members. So if the enemy has come up to say, look, we distance ourselves from this person and have found out preliminarily that this person is not a medical doctor, and if he's not a medical doctor, how was he able to practice and run a medical facility where people will come and subject themselves to medical treatment and all that, and it has been going on for years unchecked? Well, the answer is not far-fetched. In every profession, we have people who infiltrate and impersonate, and there's what we call presumption of regularity. Okay, if somebody carries himself and introduces himself as, like I'm introducing myself as a lawyer now to the whole world, until I begin to act in such a way that will give me a way that will begin to put questions in my profession, people will believe that truly I'm a lawyer.
Now,
and people will begin to ask questions. Is this man truly a lawyer?
Good. Now, having said that, this is not just about the enemy, and this doctor is not the first doctor that's impersonated, that's been impersonated the medical professions to run a hospital. There's been several cases, just like in the NBA too. People who were thought to be lawyers, until, like you said, some of these things come up. But given these circumstances, do you think that, I mean, if these people hadn't come up now, I'm sure the man would have continued with whatever he's doing.
Absolutely.
So before putting people's lives at risk, before putting legal practice at risk, medical practice at risk, or just bringing such embarrassment, do you think it has come to the point where these regulatory bodies would need to begin to look inward, to begin to check some of the excesses, to ensure that some of these things are managed before it gets as bad as it is right now?
Yeah, of course. Like I always refer to my own profession, because we know that we're also suffering the same thing. We have so many people who come out and parade themselves as legal practitioners when indeed they are not. But in our profession, the NBA has actually initiated a lot of initiatives to curb these incessant occurrences of fake lawyers parading themselves and taking briefs, meant for lawyers. For instance, the seal, every lawyer who is practicing in Nigeria, it's compulsory for you to pay your practicing fee every year, annually. And you cannot pay your practicing fee if you're not a legal practitioner. There are ways of checkmating, of knowing. And once you've paid your practicing fee, it's also incumbent for you to also ensure that you have your stamp and seal. So every lawyer in Nigeria who is a practicing lawyer in Nigeria has a stamp and seal. So if a lawyer comes to you and introduces himself as a lawyer and then gives you gives you a brief, you may want to ask for his stamp and seal. All right? Where you know that the person is not a true legal practitioner is where he's unable to provide you with his stamp and seal. Some of them still.
So this stamp and seal, it cannot be faked. It cannot be manufactured.
There are ways. There are security ways. There are security measures.
So how can the unlearned ones like you?
Every lawyer has a Supreme Court number. I have my own Supreme Court number.
Okay.
And it's engraved in my name is on the seal, and my Supreme Court number is on the seal.
Okay.
So anybody who does not have a seal, it already tells you that there's a command. All lawyers are not practicing. Mm-hmm. There are some lawyers who choose not to practice.
True.
All right? They just have their degree and they're into entertainment and other things. Mm-hmm. But anybody who wants to practice as a lawyer in Nigeria, you must have your stamp and seal. That is what authenticates your practice as a lawyer. So these are all measures that have been put in place to checkmate these occurrences of having fake lawyers taking briefs from innocent Nigerians. So I believe that the NMA also should be able to have those kind of measures in place to be able to regulate the activities of their members to forestall, align quacks in their midst.
All right. Let's quickly get to Abuja. There's been an ongoing chaos between the National Union of Road Transport Workers, but yesterday, chaos engulfed in the Gaki area of the Federal Capital Territory following a violent clash between two factions of the National Union of Road Transport Workers on Sapele Crescent off Ladoke, Akintola Boulevard, Gaki to Abuja. The conflict underlines an ongoing dispute within the National Union of Road Transport Workers, a development which observers say requires urgent intervention by the federal government to prevent further breakdown of law and order, especially in the nation's capital city. It was reported that the clash broke out when supporters of the National Union of Road Transport Workers President Tajuddin Baruwa marched towards the union's national headquarters, which is currently occupied by Lagos Park Management Committee led by Tajuddin Abwede. Baruwa had earlier revealed that he sought the intervention of the Nigerian Police Force and the Nigerian Labour Congress to resolve the situation without success. He said, "We shall henceforth not hesitate to defend our mandate with the last drop of our blood." Baruwa had earlier vowed, while accusing former National Union of Road Transport Workers leaders of illegally occupying the National Secretariat of the Union, he stressed that only a court of competent jurisdiction can invalidate his mandate and encouraged aggrieved members to follow due process and seek legal redress, warning that anything short of this could lead to anarchy. He further accused the former president of the union, Najim Yassin Anabade, the former national vice president, of holding illegal meetings with selected past leaders of the union, while calling on the Inspector General of Police, Olukayode Egbetukun, and Director General of the Department of State Services, Yusuf Bichi, to intervene in the matter. He alleged that the police seemed to be working in favor of Lagos Park Management Committee. Though our correspondent could not ascertain the exact number of casualties, if any, as of the time we filed this report. All right, I'll quickly stop here. I almost choked with laughter when I got to the point where I learned that Lagos State Park Management is occupying the
good. Well, Vivian, let me read the riot act to these people in Abuja misbehaving. Let me tell them that Wike is in town. There's a new sheriff in town. They should beware. Wike is coming for you guys.
They don't know.
So behave yourselves.
They don't know.
In case you're hearing me, you guys, Wike is in town. And he doesn't take this kind of things lying low. So, well, having said that, on a lighter note, I just said that on a lighter note, but we know what our brother can do. I believe in no time from now, he'll fix that mess.
Okay, you're shooting in Abuja under your wiki.
So, maybe they don't know.
They think he's a joke to himself.
No, maybe they don't know.
Okay.
They don't know who they have as Minister of
Came from Lagos and occupied. No. But like you said, we thank God that I keep calling him governor. Okay,
there's a new sheriff in town, and he's soon going to show himself his true character in the FCT. I'm sure everybody will come to their senses very soon.
You bet.
So
thanks for reading the Riot Act for them.
We'll leave it at that.
Yes, thank you very much. Now let's look at something else real quick. This is the Federal Capital Territory Minister, that's Nyesom Wike, has vowed to probe the circumstances surrounding a judgment debt of over $800 million, slammed against the administration, describing it as deeply concerning. FCTA had run into troubled waters following disagreement with an organization it had enlisted to build for it a film village. FCT minister was swearing in mandate secretaries on Tuesday, said, "I wish to reiterate my unwavering determination to bring our city development back in line with the Abuja Master Plan. Said infractions will be dealt with decisively, and non-compliant buildings will be subject to appropriate measures, including removal and penalties. It is essential that we uphold the standards and integrity of our city. In addition to addressing infractions, we will closely examine our laws and seek ways to strengthen them, closing any loopholes that offenders may exploit to the detriment of the administration and the people of the FCT. I must also address the recent garnishee order to the sum of over $800 million, which was a particularly embarrassing incident. I am determined to get to the bottom of this matter and ensure that such situations do not recur. Transparency and accountability will be hallmarks of our administration." So he told the new appointees that they have a duty to translate the FCT's vision into tangible actions that will shape the future of the territory. So he said, "I urge you to approach your responsibilities with unwavering dedication, for service is a privilege that often demands sacrifices. Be prepared to make those sacrifices, as our mission is greater than any one of us. Our president has entrusted us with the monumental task of rebuilding and developing the FCT into a world-class city. To achieve this, we must address several key areas that are essential for the progress of our city and the well-being of our residents. We will give due attention to the development of our satellite towns, the prosperity and well-being of our residents, and extend beyond the city center. And it is our responsibility to ensure that all areas of the FCT experience progress and development. A significant aspect of our mission will be the enhancement of our internally generated revenue and several other issues." Now, you were just talking about this National Union of Road Transport Workers and those who came in from Lagos and what have you. They're not aware that there's a new sheriff in town.
Oh, yeah.
And
well, my biggest regrets is that Wike was not allowed the opportunity to compete with Tinubu during the presidential election. I think PDP, that was PDP's greatest undoing. Wike is bigger than the platform he's playing right now.
Clearly.
Wike, I didn't expect Wike to even accept any appointment by this administration, because we see in Wike the future of Nigeria. We see his dullness and capacity and zeal to transform his environment wherever he finds himself. He left a very significant footprint in Rivers State, even though, of course, we in the human rights organization, nobody is too special for us. You do well, we commend you. You go the other way, we hit you hard. I had some very rough edges with the governor when he was holding fort here in the state. But by and large, we know that he left significant footprints in Rivers State in terms of development and reorganization, infrastructural. But he was tagged Mr. Project, and it wasn't for nothing. If you know Rivers State before Wike came into power, especially the Sakpenwa Corner Road. And so many of those projects are too numerous to mention, and the ones he left behind that this man, the present governor, has inherited and is continuing. There was a real transformation in terms of physical development in Rivers State. And I believe that now that he's been given that platform in the FCT, he's going to replicate the same thing at that level and ensure that the development of Abuja is carried on based on the original master plan that was initiated by, I think it was Babangida, or even before Babangida, but it was actually developed into what it is now by Babangida. And we know that El Rufai, the last minister of the FCT who actually did wonders was El Rufai. After then, it's like everything went comatose. Wiki has come in now, and attention is now being drawn again to FCT. And we believe that in no distant time, we are going to witness wonderful results in terms of the development of FCT. I don't have any doubts in Wiki's capacity and capability to live in line with his promises and his aspirations and plans for governance. We don't have any doubts in that aspect. And the aspect of the Ganeshi, which of course it didn't happen under him, but of course losing that kind of $800 million
to build a film village in Abuja. I'm wondering, this story came up some time ago, and we learned that a statement came out from the FCT administration, the permanent secretary, so to say that no, he is not going to. But people were like, why is he going to investigate the past administration and all of that?
Of course, it costs $800 million is not a joke.
Yeah, but if you look at it,
he may not be
like investigating
it. Investigating it doesn't mean he wants to relitigate.
Attack, yeah.
You cannot Ganeshi is an execution of a judgment. But of course, you must learn from the mistakes that led to such colossal loss. So I'm sure the reason why he's actually reviewing that is to ensure that such a thing, like he said in his comment, that such a thing does not repeat itself.
Yes.
I'm very sure that so much had gone on that wasn't supposed to happen that led to such colossal loss. Such money out of the coffers of the government is no 800 million. You know what we're talking about? That's not almost $1 billion. So you can imagine such money in the hands of Wiki right now, and he's told to use it to transform Abuja. You know what he will be able to do with such amount of money.
And then you have to pay for that without even knowing
Nothing was accomplished at the end of the day, and you lost the money.
But okay, I think he has a right to investigate that, and it could serve as a deterrent, maybe also help him watch his path.
Yes.
Now, let's wrap up with this story from the Labour Party. National Chairman of the Labour Party, Barrister Julius Abure, has described the various tribunal judgments that sacked its elected members at national and state elections as an affront to the known jurisprudence. He said the court action has so far depleted the strength of the party that has impacted the political landscape from the last election and forced a third-party representation across the nation. Abure said the National Judicial Institute should take note of the injustices. The national chairman of the Labour Party said this in a statement he personally signed and made available to the newsmen by Pastor Obiora before the spokesman of the party. The statement said the Labour Party is amazed at the spate of judgments being churned out at the various national and state assembly tribunals, where several of our elected members at the National Assembly have been sacked by the tribunals. The Labour Party at the last general election took Nigerians by surprise and rewriting the political narratives and ending the dominance of the two major political parties in Nigeria. The Labour Party became a household name with over 10 million members and supporters across the nation. However, this feat is regrettably being reversed by the pronouncements coming out from the various tribunals. We are worried because the reasons for reversing our victories are matters that have been settled by the superior courts in the past. One of the cases in Abia State yesterday was on result forgery. And then the other one, there was a rerun that affected the Labour Party candidate in Abia State. So my concern with all of this then is, Is it saying that the law should not take its course because they are Labour Party? No. Or is it saying, oh, because this judgment has been there before, that nothing should be done? Or again, is there any law that stops the Labour Party from going ahead to appeal this judgment from the state tribunal?
Well, speaking as a lawyer, matters are not determined by emotions and by sentiments. You won't say because you have been so loved by Nigerians, therefore field all kinds of characters as elected officers. If the person was found to have forged documents, of course, the law should take its course. It's even a crime, all right? If it was found that this person actually forged documents to access power, he shouldn't only be removed from office, he should also be arrested and prosecuted. So the laws are not made against Labour Party. Laws are made against everybody who wants to infract the law, all right, across board. And he wouldn't say it's only Labour Party that has lost seats at the tribunal. There are some APC members who have also lost seats. There are PDP members who have lost seats. There are other political party members who have also lost seats. If you have merit in your case, and you're able to provide sufficient, substantial evidence to convince the court why you should remain in office, why not? The tribunal is not there against anybody. The tribunal is only there to ensure that the laws are preserved the way they are. Therefore, Labour Party should allow itself, subject itself to due judicial scrutiny. Like you said, if the tribunal has erred, if you think that the evidence against you were not weighty enough to have that kind of judgment against you, have other levels of appeal. You should explore your right of appeal, file your necessary notice of appeal, and take the matter to the next level of appeal and get your judgment. And I believe that at the end of the day, if the final decisions from either the Court of Appeal or the Supreme Court comes out and you lose, you go home and prepare for another 4 years. That is how the system has been structured to run. Whether you like it or not, it's not about whether you're popular. It's not about whether people love you. It's not about the emotions. It's not about the sentiments. It's about the laws that we have. And of course, quite unfortunately, you ask me, the law resides in the bosom of the judges. It is what the judges say that is the law. It is the interpretation given to the law by the judges that is the law itself. It's not just the law in the books. Even though we urge judges to always apply the law in line with known international and nationally recognized legal principles so that it doesn't occasion miscarriage of justice.
Yeah. Now, another interesting part of this conversation is the angle where we have seen the tribunal at state levels dishing out judgments, sacking both Labour Party, APC, and PDP, irrespective of who. We have seen the tribunal at the state level delivering these judgments without fear of favour, as the case may be. However, if you compare this with what happened at the Presidential Election Tribunal, Nigerians are beginning to wonder, how come none of the issues raised as a source of concern? A typical example is the issue of beavers, use of digital devices in the 2023 elections. How come all of this, the Supreme Court Justice, the Appeal Court Justice did not see any reason why this thing should be looked into or given a second thought? Like some of the judgment that came out 2 days ago in Abia, some of them there was a rerun. Yeah, some cases there's several. So okay, some people were some was okay. Some in this particular case do it like this. How come for the presidential election everything was black and white? This is it. Is not this. This is it. Why do we have that?
Well, I was hoping I was not going to be made to make any comment on.
Sorry about that. But you're blowout.
The judgment of the Court of Appeal respect of the presidential election. But here am I must say one or two things about it. And forgive me if I say that the Court of Appeal is not the final court to determine fates of contestants at the presidential election. We still have the Supreme Court that will review that decision, whether it was good it was bad, and I believe when the Supreme Court makes that final decision, this matter will be rested finally. But, well, we are watching, we are seeing, we are looking. They are human beings, and they are prone to errors. That's why our legal system allows for hierarchy of courts and allows for higher courts to have supervisory power over lower courts. So if there were any errors in that judgment of the Court of Appeal, it will be reviewed. The Supreme Court will have a very good opportunity to review those decisions that were taken because, if we allow error to perpetuate by judicial pronouncement, it will create some precedents that may actually lead to amendment of certain laws, especially the Evidence Act. If you remember, there's a judgment, it was Amechi's, the case of Omeya and Amechi was what led to the amendment of the Electoral Act. Okay, so maybe I'm seeing a situation where after the Supreme Court, if the Supreme Court decides to uphold the decision of the Court of Appeal, there's likely going to be an amendment of some certain laws, including the Constitution, to be able to accommodate those pronouncements. Otherwise, if it is allowed the way it is now, there are really some technical changes that this judgment has actually initiated, which will necessitate amendment of not just the Electoral Act, the Evidence Act, and maybe some provisions of the Constitution.
Yeah, some people, when you talk about amendments of the Electoral Act, some people are basically calling for overhaul of the 1999 Constitution, as a matter of fact, because there are several lacunas. Like we talk about the 2020, the elections and the 25% in the FCT, for instance, where the judges told us that FCT is similar to other states. Well, similar is not a constant.
Like I said,
there's a difference in being similar. So you and I are humans. So in the species of the humans and the animal kingdom, there's similarity, but we're not the same.
Like I said, judges are like you and I, prone to errors. I'm not going to sit down here and begin to pinpoint each and every error that I notice. It's personal to me. But in every judgment, you may not agree with every aspect of every judgment. There are some judgments that came in my favor that I did not agree with.
Okay.
As a legal practitioner, I've had instances where I had to appeal judgments that came in my favor because I did not agree with some certain aspects of those judgments, even though the judgment came in my favor. That's because we owe, as ministers in the Temple of Justice, we owe ourselves the duty to preserve the sanctity of the law. Even if the judgment comes in your favor and you notice one or two aspects that you think was an error, you bring it up and trash it up, because if you allow it, it might work against you. Today is in your favor, all right? But if you look at it as a smart lawyer, you know that this thing, even though it's in my favor, it will work against me tomorrow. You owe yourself that duty to go to court and say, look, this part, even though it's in my favor, please, I want it corrected.
All right. Thank you very much. I said we're going to wrap up, but there's a very sensitive conversation we need to have because this affects every one of us. Nigerian Association of Road Transport Owners has called on the federal government to remove the 7.5% value-added tax on the automotive gas oil, also known as diesel, to avert the disruption in the distribution and supply of the premium motor spirit petrol. Now, diesel, they said, is a product for fueling about 90% of the haulage trucks which convey the petrol from the depot to the retail outlets nationwide. Prior to the placement of VAT on diesel, its cost was barely above 600 naira per litre, but it is now almost 1,000 naira, which has also increased the cost of transportation, the PMS, for the premium motor spirit. So NATO, being NATO's national president, Yusuf Lawal Othman, who made this known in a statement in Abuja, added that despite the high operation costs, the government has stopped further increase in the pump price of PMS. He, however, noted that since the marketers cannot raise the pump price, it is impossible for them to increase their cost of transportation. All of these requests, while the average Nigerian is saying, we're talking about our palliative, the measures being put in place to check this palliative, while we're having all of that conversation, NATO, they've also raised a very sensitive issue, the issue about diesel. Now, the tanks, the tankers that distribute these PMS, they also use diesel. Basically, that's what they use diesel to transport those tankers. But if we're looking at all of this side by side, and then go back again to the idea of fuel subsidy removal, do you think that a proper thought was put into the process before this announcement was made?
Well, I am particularly disappointed in these pressure groups, Pengasan, and the rest of the petroleum industry. Remember some time in this country where when policies like that come from federal government, it will always come with so much heat. You know, they don't just sit back and allow these policies just roll over them like that without coming out. When last did we hear Pengasan strike? When last did we hear strikes in the oil and gas sector because of policies of government? I was actually expecting that there was going to be a total shutdown when the government announced a total removal of subsidy. We saw the way the removal of subsidy in the diesel, in the management of diesel, how it was done, how it affected us. We're saying that if subsidy is removed, eventually the market will be open for, so market forces will be allowed. Market forces will be allowed to determine prices of petroleum product. But we saw that instead it worsened. And when it was happening, they thought we were going to be the only ones who were going to be affected. But you can see that the thing is affecting every sector, including those who are even making the policy, because almost every government parastatal, every government establishment runs on diesel because we don't have steady power supply.
Yeah.
Almost every factory, almost every production line depends on diesel, including NEPA themselves. They also depend on diesel to power their power plants, to be able to function effectively. So, but you see, the thing is having a ripple effect, and thank God it's biting them now. But I believe that it goes beyond the removal of the 7.5% VAT. There is need for us to sit down as a country to review. Like I told you, I was in Ghana a few weeks ago, and cost of fuel is 13 cedis per litre. 13 cedis per litre.
And what's the cost of that here?
Multiply that by 80 naira. That is what it is. So I'm just telling you that it's quite unfair that we produce crude and we supply to some of these African countries, and yet we are the ones bearing the brunt the most. So we have not heard the last of this issue in the petroleum sector. I believe that, like the president has said, who knows? Maybe he has a magic wand that he's going to whip very soon for us to see that these things will... Because if things continue like this, one thing that we must know is that our naira has been devalued by this removal of subsidy, whether you like it or not. I was so ashamed when I was told that my 1,000 naira is equivalent to just how much in Ghana cedis? It's about 80-something naira Ghana cedis. 80-something cedis. 80-something cedis. That's quite embarrassing.
Wow. And this is within the African continent.
Within the West African coast. So even the Cameroonian CFA is higher than naira. In those days, when you take naira to these countries,
you were a big boy.
You're a big boy. Now the reverse. I came back with some cedis, and I'm feeling like I'm a big boy because I have orange. It's funny, but we should not be alive and watch this country slide continuously into this economic woes that there's no need for Nigeria to be poor. We don't have it. We have all the resources.
So some people, like a quick one, some people, like I said earlier, are of the opinion that the subsidy removal process was not well thought out. We have the SDP at W, the presidential candidate, say, hey, this thing should have been done like this. It should have been taken in batch.
In fact, don't you even know? There are some people, like I said, there's a conspiracy theory that says that subsidy has been removed long before now. What is happening now, for me, I think it's just a recommendation by the World Bank and the IMF. Nigeria is being governed by this organization. They want you to devalue your currency to remain subservient to them.
But shouldn't this is an argument
so it really has nothing
several
to do with
professors of law, of economics, and what have you have had to argue and push out. Shouldn't now, if this is the intendment of this international organization, shouldn't our leaders know that this is what they are going at? Is it the fear of a Gaddafi? For instance, repeating itself. Why do you think that our leaders seem not to be paying close attention to some of this? Recently, the World Bank came out to talk about how much loans we have within them that have not been accessed yet, that they are not giving more loans. And I'm asking myself, how did we even get to this point? So shouldn't our leaders know better?
It now calls to question the issue, brings into fore the issue of integrity and love for fatherland. This thing is not rocket science. If you go to Kenya today, in fact, even Rwanda, you will see a proactive government. You see a government that thinks outside the box. You will see there that it is the life of the citizens that matters, that informs their decisions and their policies. It is not their personal interest. But in Nigeria, most of our leaders have investments outside Nigeria. Most of our leaders have houses outside Nigeria. They have businesses outside Nigeria. They are also feeding from this country. As Nigerian citizens, there is huge capital flights on a daily basis, both by Nigerians and foreign nationals, most times unchecked. You remember what Tompolo came up with recently? That the oil theft in Nigeria has gone unchecked, meaning that these multinationals have stolen this country dry. They couldn't have been accomplishing and achieving that without the complicity of our own Nigerian leaders. So it is just about patriotism. One day will come when we'll have patriotic leaders and they will think Nigeria and Nigeria alone. That day we'll not be having all these academic conversations about how to fix our economy and all that. It is very easy, as simple as ABC. You must not kowtow to the World Bank and this international organization. You must not.
All right. Thank you so much, Alaboye Junode, for being part of ATM Blowout. It's always a blowout, quite interesting blowout moment with you. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
And that's been a show, everyone. If you missed any part of the, not to worry, we got you covered. All you need to do is get onto our Facebook and YouTube page. You can get the full details of the show on Atlantic Television Network. That's for YouTube and Facebook. You can also follow us on X, Atlantic TV Net, and on Instagram and TikTok, Atlantic TV Network 1. Do remember that you can also watch us live on Atlantic Television Network.tv, and you can also watch us live from ATN Live. Download our app, it's called ATN Live, and of course, watch us live on Facebook and YouTube as well. And thank you. Do remember that peace and unity remains the pathway to progress.